Manchester United's another one then where, you know, they've obviously had a bit of a fall from grace and a churn of managers since Alex Ferguson thankfully finally packed it in. How do you feel about them now? Because, you know, they put a lot of misery on us, really, didn't they? By sort of, like, I remember with them, and I thought it was a really good point. I remember doing a piece about the rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester when I was at university, so we're going back a long time. And I remember trying to get different perspectives on it that made the piece a little bit different from the usual. And one of the ways I did that, I spoke to like a professor of sociology who like had a bit of a specialism in football. And I always remember the point he made and thought, yeah, there's something in that, because it still chimes with me now. So, because he said, I think one of the reasons for that rivalry is so big is that Man United, for instance, like market themselves and call themselves, and the fans do it all the time, we're the biggest club in the world. And obviously that gets right up our noses. And so we go, you know, we won this, and this, and you know what I mean? And then they say about the titles, we say about the European Cups, you know, and on we go. And I think that is the thing. You know, we're both from the north, we're both from the northwest, we're both from Granada region, whatever you want. And as much as they speak funny and we speak like this, there's loads of similarities between the cities, between how you know, the politics, the histories, everything. It's like quite entwined. It's only 35 miles away at the end of the day. And I think that's where, you know, it's like you want to have the swagger. You know, you want to be able to swagger into Manchester and go, we're the best. And they want to do the same when they come here. So I think that's where that comes from. So yeah, okay, you know, they had their period of dominance under Ferguson, but there was only one season, wasn't there, really, when you think back, where it was us going head to head, and that was 2009, was it? I think Benitez.
And even then,
I know.
Like, I think if you said to Ferguson, did Liverpool go head to head with you then? They'd be like, not really.
Yeah,
we talked it up a lot, but when you look back, you know, when we thought we were challenging them, we were still off them. We were still off the pace.
I still to this day can't. Well, like Machida, I don't know, something weird about all that. What happened to him? Do you know what I mean? But it's 100% there, isn't it? And look, all the usual cliches around that particular rivalry, that it's not just football, it's fashion, it's music, it's you know, it's everything, isn't it? Really?
Before then, isn't it? It's like it was trade.
Yeah,
like,
trade.
It was literally like
they built a canal to rob our business.
Yeah. That's what it like goes back to. So it's like every element of a rivalry, we've got it.
Yeah.
And I've said this for a long time with Manchester and with Manchester United especially. Like we are like, we're like two brothers who are so similar to each other, but can't fucking stand it. Can't stand the fact that our brother is so similar to us and we need to be better than him. But we are very, very similar cities with very, very similar tendencies and makeups.
We've seen a little period though, haven't we, here where we, you know, stuff that you'd never imagine. You know, like if someone said to me, you're going to beat Man United 7-0,
yeah,
you're going to go to Old Trafford and see Liverpool score 5,
yeah,
you know, you're going to batter them to such an extent that they're going to walk out. You know, I mean, what days they were, you know what I mean?
But they are glory days, aren't they? And if they continued, what that rivalry would go the way of Everton. Like, it's still a rivalry, but it means more when you are like both up there competing, and the wider picture is who's won the most league titles, who's won the most European Cups. Now that's a fucking rivalry, isn't it, when you're talking about those things? But it's also that thing, Joe, we've mentioned him on here before, like my favourite Man United fan, Mark Goldbridge, like, and I met him at Sky, and I've often, because I used to live with it, one of my best mates in law school was a United fan, and I've always had this affinity with the United fans when, you know, we can get past the rivalry and you stand in a room together and other fans are there. When I met Goldbridge that day, Mark Goldbridge, we had that thing standing next to each other in the room of like, we're not asked about all of yous. And it was funny, him hearing me say it and him saying it. He was like, Joe, it was like all the other fans were competing to be our rivals. And we were both like, we're not asked about all of yous. And they're like, no, there was an Arsenal fan there going, no, Arsenal Man United have got a big rivalry. And he was like, nah, we're not asked about you. It's only Liverpool we're asked about. City fan was like, no, but what about us? And he was like, we're not asked about you. You're just knobheads.
I mean, City's come into it, hasn't it? Obviously, and City, we'll come on to talk about them. But United's like the long-standing one, isn't it?
But I think United, and this is where we've talked about this in the past.
And it's been a bit moody in the past as well, which, again, whether you're into that or you're not into that, it's a fact.
It adds to it.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's something we've mentioned on this when we've been laying into City. We never lay into Man United on the money side the way we lay into City, because United they started out like us. They became a huge financially powerful football club through being a boss football club. No one ever came in and just went, here's a load of fucking oil money and we're going to cheat the system with it. So
they didn't get a free ground.
There's that element of it. There's all of that. Do you know what I mean? And so we find ourselves then, the way you said about Everton before, we still look at them and be like, because I used to do the same thing. Why can't we be doing the good in the community like them? I think fair-minded Liverpool fans have always looked at United and gone, why aren't we run as well as they are? Why have they got club shops all over the world? Why have they got the biggest turnover? We're bigger than them. We should be selling more shirts than them. We should have bigger sponsorship deals than them. And that's where FSG coming in for all the people who hate them. That was one of the biggest things they did, is start to drag us up onto Man United's level when it comes to the commercial side of the game. Because I remember years ago, it almost being like, we were too good for that. We were too good for all that. We're a traditional club and all that. And whilst we were busy doing that, Man United were busy making loads of fucking money
mega
that they could then spend.
Extending the ground.
100%. I remember going to their mega store when must have been 15 and going to this mega store outside the ground and thinking, we're fucked here. Because at the time we had a fucking tiny shed outside Anfield where you could buy little souvenir fucking badges and stuff. And you're like, well, they're going to be making well more money than us, and they've got one of these in fucking Singapore. So but I think that rivalry has always been like, we want to be up where they are. We want to overtake them. Even things like, I know this sounds awful. There'll be fans who don't like this comment at all, but when you see the Deloitte Money League and stuff like that, I'm like, I want to be richer than you. I want us to generate more money than you, because that's a sign that we're bigger than you as well. Because when they're doing that, we're the biggest club. It's things like that they mean. We've got more fans around the world and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I want that to be us. I want us to beat you in every possible way we can.
I think it helps that, they're in the middle of an industrial estate, and they can just make the ground as big as they want whenever they feel like.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds behind that as well, isn't there?
I mean, the thing that always sticks with me with these as well is that, when you do get a statement win against them, I can remember, 4-1's 2009. But you're doing daft laughs, you know what I mean? It's 4-1.
I still remember my night out after the 4-1.
I do as well.
I got lashed off the karaoke in the Rose and Crown pub because they told us no footy songs. And I got up with Neil from the Anfield app, and we did, do you remember the Sainers song?
Yeah.
We just put that down as we wanted to sing that song as the actual song. And obviously halfway through it, started doing the Sainers version of it. And they were like, get off! We told you. Fucking saying it.
But 4-1's way back in 2009, but 7-0's this year.
Yeah.
4-0 2022, 5-0 2021, 4-2 2021. And it's we've given them some good tonkins in recent times. It's been great.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think the reason this is my biggest rivalry for me, and I've loved those more than any others, those results, is my adult life was spent having to watch them win everything.
But they feel the same way as well. I think that's the thing, because, I worked there for 10 years, and I mentioned that a lot, but I did. And we used to work with United fans, obviously, and same thing, once you sort of get to know them enough, and you cross the daft stuff, and you can have actual conversations. I had that with a few of them. I remember saying to one lad, well, so tell us about 8 in Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Tell us what it felt like from your end. And he's like, Ian Rush just used to, score every week. You'd always win. You did this, you did that. That
winning
that,
games late.
Yeah, all of that kind. And all the stuff that we sort of say about them, they said about us. And you know what I mean? It's because we had our era, then they had their era. And I used to hate that thing as well about it all comes round in cycles and all that. And obviously it felt like it never would.
Yeah.
Because they just kept winning. We went 30 years without the title. And you were like, where's this cycle? You know, I'm an half fella here. When's the cycle happening?
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full show from us live at 5 on This Is Anfield's YouTube channel every Monday. Also available as a podcast on This Is Anfield's podcast feed. And if you like what we're doing as well, check us out on the Late Challenge podcast.